The metal walls of the detention cell were cold and smooth. Captain Lisa Murphy sat on the simple bench, her hands bound behind her back with alien restraints. The blue-skinned guards outside watched her through the energy barrier that hummed softly between them. Their large black eyes never blinked as they stared at her. Lisa kept her face calm. She had been a prisoner for 3 days now, ever since the Zephyrian ships had surrounded the Liberty's Edge near Kepler Station. Her crew was gone. All of them. Jake Collins, her pilot, had died when his console exploded. Amy Foster had been trapped in engineering when the hull breached. Steve Adams had fought the boarding party until his last breath. The others had not survived either, but Lisa was alive. The aliens had kept her alive for a reason. Heavy footsteps echoed in the corridor outside. The guard stepped aside as General Vexitar approached. He was tall even for a Zephyrian, with dark blue skin that had silver markings across his face. His uniform was black with red symbols that showed his high rank. Behind him walked 3 other aliens, scientists and officers who watched Lisa with curious eyes. The energy barrier flickered off. General Vexitar entered the cell and stood before Lisa. His voice was deep and carried the mechanical tone of his translation device. "Human Captain Lisa Murphy," he said. "I am General Vexitar of the Zephyrian Military Command. You will answer my questions." Lisa looked up at him with steady eyes. She did not speak. "Your species has been fighting us for 2 years," Vexitar continued. "In every battle, your primitive ships defeat our superior technology. Your weapons should not be able to pierce our shields. Your tactics should not work against our computers. Yet you win." Lisa remained silent. She had learned long ago that silence was often the best weapon. Vexitar moved closer. "We have studied your ship. We have analyzed your weapons. We have examined your technology. Nothing explains your victories. Nothing explains how you destroy fleets 3 times your size." The general's black eyes narrowed. "But you know, don't you, Captain? You know the secret. You know where humanity's ultimate weapon is hidden." Lisa finally spoke. Her voice was quiet but clear. "Do I?" "Yes," Vexitar said. "And you will tell me. You will tell me where this weapon is. You will tell me how it works." Lisa looked at the general for a long moment. Then she smiled. It was a small smile, barely visible, but it was there. "You'll see," she said. Vexitar stepped back. His hand moved to the weapon on his belt. "This is not a game, human. Your species is losing this war. Your colonies burn. Your fleets scatter before our might. Tell me about your weapon, and I might spare your remaining worlds." "You'll see," Lisa repeated. The smile never left her face. The general turned to one of his officers, a thin Zephyrian with pale blue skin. "Engineer Clixmol, show her the scans." Clixmol activated a small device. Images appeared in the air between them. Detailed scans of the Liberty's Edge. Every corridor, every room, every system was displayed in perfect detail. "We have mapped your entire ship," Clixmol said in a higher voice. "We found plasma cannons. We found missile tubes. We found shield generators and engines. Standard technology. Nothing special. Nothing that should threaten our fleet." Lisa studied the images. Her ship looked strange in the alien scans, reduced to lines and numbers. She could see the bridge where she had made her last stand. She could see engineering where Amy had died trying to save them all. "Your weapon is not on the ship," Vexitar said. "So where is it? Hidden on Earth? On one of your colony worlds? In space?" "It's not hidden," Lisa said calmly. "Then where?" Lisa's smile grew a little wider. "You're looking right at it." Vexitar studied the scans again. "I see nothing unusual. No secret compartments. No unknown technology." "Maybe you're not looking in the right place," Lisa said. The general's patience was running thin. Lisa could see it in the way he moved, the way his hands clenched into fists. Zephyrians were not used to resistance. They were not used to questions without answers. "Your species is primitive," Vexitar said. "Your ships are slow. Your weapons are weak. Your technology is centuries behind ours. Yet somehow you fight us to a standstill. There must be something, some secret, some hidden advantage." Lisa leaned back against the wall. "Maybe there is. What is it?" "You'll see." Vexitar struck the wall with his fist. The metal rang like a bell. "Enough games. Your people are dying while you sit here with your human stubbornness. Tell me what I need to know." Lisa looked at him with calm eyes. "General, may I ask you something?" "What?" "How many species have you conquered?" Vexitar straightened with pride. 47 worlds have fallen before the Zephyrian Empire. 47 species now serve us. How long did it take? The longest resistance lasted 6 months. Most surrendered within weeks. Lisa nodded slowly. And how long have you been fighting humans? 2 years, Vextar admitted. 2 years, Lisa repeated. And we're still here. Because of your weapon. Because of your secret? Lisa's smile returned. Yes, because of our secret. What is it? You'll see, General. He'll see. Vextar turned and stormed out of the cell. The energy barrier flickered back to life. Lisa could hear him shouting orders in the corridor. The other aliens followed him, leaving only the guards. Lisa settled back on the bench. She closed her eyes and thought of her crew. Jake had always joked that humans were too stubborn to know when they were beaten. Amy had believed that human creativity could solve any problem. Steve had said that courage was the only weapon that mattered. Maybe they were all right. Outside her cell, she could hear the aliens working. They were taking apart her ship piece by piece, looking for secrets that did not exist in the way they imagined. They searched for a weapon they would never find in scanning devices and computers. Lisa opened her eyes and looked at her reflection in the metal wall. The woman looking back at her had seen 2 years of war. She had lost friends and crew members. She had watched colonies burn and fleets die. But she was still here, still fighting, still human. The aliens wanted to know humanity's secret weapon. They wanted to understand what made humans different, what made them dangerous. Lisa thought she knew the answer. But first they would have to learn to ask the right question. You'll see, she whispered to the empty cell. You'll see. The sound of cutting tools echoed through the Liberty's edge. Engineer Clicksmall worked with a team of 12 specialists, taking apart the human ship section by section. They had been at it for 6 hours now, and the Zephyrian was growing frustrated. Status report, General Vextar said as he entered the ship's engine room. The space was torn apart. Panels hung open, revealing the inner workings of human technology. Clicksmall looked up from a power coupling. Nothing unusual, General. The humans use basic fusion reactors. Their computer systems are simple. Their weapons are standard plasma and projectile technology. There must be something, Vextar insisted. Some hidden system. Some secret component. If there is, we have not found it, Clicksmall replied. We have scanned every millimeter of this vessel. We have analyzed every circuit and every wire. This is an ordinary human warship. Vexitar walked through the destroyed engine room. Human technology was crude compared to Zephyrian systems, but it worked. The fusion reactor could power the ship for months. The engines could push it to high speeds. The weapons could punch holes in enemy hulls, but none of it explained how humans kept winning battles they should lose. What about the bridge? Vextar asked. The same story, Clicksmall said. Basic computers. Simple control systems. Nothing advanced. They moved to the bridge where the human captain had made her last stand. Scorch marks on the walls showed where the fighting had been fierce. 3 Zephyrian soldiers had died here before they finally overwhelmed the humans. Clicksmall activated his scanner and swept it across the command chair. Standard neural interface ports. Basic tactical displays. The humans use manual controls for most systems. Manual controls? Vextar was surprised. That is incredibly inefficient. Yes, our ships use direct computer interfaces, much faster response time, but humans seem to prefer doing things the slow way. Vextar studied the bridge. The human command center looked primitive compared to Zephyrian warships. Where alien vessels had smooth surfaces and hidden controls, the human ship had buttons and switches everywhere. Where Zephyrian ships relied on computer automation, humans seemed to do everything by hand. Perhaps their weapon is not on the ship, he said finally. Where else could it be? Hidden somewhere. A secret base, a new type of space station. Vextar activated his communication device. This is General Vextar. I want deep scans of this entire system. Look for any unusual energy signatures. Any hidden installations? The reply came quickly. General, we have scanned the system thoroughly. There are no hidden bases, no secret installations, only the destroyed human colony on the 3rd planet. Vextar closed the communication with anger. He returned to the detention area where Captain Murphy waited in her cell. She sat in the same position as before, calm and patient. We have searched your ship, he told her. We found nothing. Lisa looked at him with those steady brown eyes. I told you it wasn't hidden. Then where is your weapon? You're still looking in the wrong place. Vextar entered the cell. Tell me where to look. Lisa was quiet for a long moment. Then she said, General, may I ask about my crew? Your crew is dead, I know. But may I tell you about them? Vextar did not understand why this mattered, but he was curious. Speak. Lisa leaned forward slightly. Jake Collins was my pilot. He grew up on a farming world called New Kansas. His family raised wheat and corn. Jake had never seen an ocean until he joined the Space Force. This is irrelevant, Vextar said, is it? Lisa continued. Jake could fly anything. Fighters, shuttles, cargo ships. He had a feel for it that no computer could match. When we were trapped by your ships near the asteroid belt, Jake flew through spaces that your navigation computer said were impossible. Lucky guessing. Amy Foster was my engineer, Lisa went on. She came from a mining station. Her parents were mechanics. She learned to fix machines before she could read. Amy could make broken systems work with spare parts and creativity. Vextar was growing impatient. Why are you telling me this? Steve Adams was my tactical officer. He studied your battles for months. He learned your patterns, your weaknesses. When we fought your fleet at Proxima Station, Steve predicted your moves before your own computers made them. Impossible. Our tactical systems are perfect. Lisa smiled that same mysterious smile. Are they? Yes, they calculate every possibility. They predict every outcome. Steve didn't think so. He said your computers were very good at being computers, but they weren't good at being human. Vextar did not understand. What does that mean? It means Steve could think of things your computers couldn't. He could imagine solutions that weren't in the programming. Chaos is not a strategy, Vexitar said. No, Lisa agreed. But creativity is. The general left the cell again. He was becoming more frustrated with each conversation. The human captain spoke in riddles and puzzles. She gave answers that were not answers. He found Clixamol in the ship's armory examining human weapons. The engineer looked up as Vextar approached. General, I have been thinking about what the human said. Which part? About looking in the wrong place. What if she means we are looking for the wrong type of weapon? Vextar considered this. Explain. We are searching for technology, for machines and devices. But what if their weapon is not technological? What else could it be? Clixamol hesitated. I am not sure, but I have been reviewing our battle records. There are patterns in human behavior that our computers cannot predict, such as humans often make choices that appear illogical. They sacrifice valuable ships to save less important ones. They attack when they should retreat. They take risks that serve no obvious purpose. Primitive thinking, perhaps, but their primitive thinking often works. Vextar accessed the battle records on his personal device. He scrolled through dozens of encounters between human and Zephyrian forces. In each one, the humans had done something unexpected. At the Battle of Wolf Station, human fighters had rammed themselves into Zephyrian destroyers instead of retreating. The attack made no tactical sense, but it had destroyed 3 capital ships. At the siege of New Berlin, human defenders had abandoned their strongest positions to protect civilian evacuers. Logic said they should have held their ground. Instead, they saved thousands of lives and somehow managed to defeat the Zephyrian landing force. At the fight for Kepler Station, human ships had spread their fleet thin to protect multiple targets. Any computer would have concentrated forces at the most important location. But the humans had saved all their objectives while destroying twice their number in enemy ships. These tactics are inefficient, Vextar muttered. But they work, Clixamol pointed out. Vextar returned to the detention cell. Captain Murphy was still sitting calmly as if she had all the time in the world. Your tactics make no sense, he told her. Don't they? No, you waste resources. You take unnecessary risks. You make emotional decisions instead of logical ones. Lisa nodded. And yet we keep winning. Because of your secret weapon. Yes. What is it? Lisa looked at him for a long moment. Her smile was patient, almost kind. You're getting closer, General. Closer to what? To asking the right question. Vextar wanted to strike something again. The human was playing games with him while her species died in battle. But there was something in her eyes that made him pause. She was not afraid. She was not angry. She was waiting for something. What is the right question? He asked finally. Lisa's smile grew wider. You'll see. General Vextar stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Eternal Dominion. Through the massive viewing window, he could see the captured human ship Liberty's Edge. His engineers were still working on it, still searching for secrets that seemed impossible to find. Bring the human to the command center, he ordered. 10 minutes later, Captain Lisa Murphy was escorted onto the bridge. Her hands were still bound, but she walked with the same calm confidence she had shown since her capture. The Zephyrian bridge crew watched her with a mixture of curiosity and disgust. "Impressive ship, General," Lisa said, looking around at the smooth walls and floating displays. "How many crew?" 2,000, Vextar replied. "Why? Just curious." "My ship had 43 people." Vextar gestured to the main display. "I want to show you something, human. I want you to understand what you are fighting against." The screen came alive with images of the Zephyrian Empire. Vast fleets moved through space like schools of silver fish. Planets covered in gleaming cities showed the power of their civilization. Space stations the size of moons demonstrated their industrial might. "We control 400 star systems," Vextar said. "Our technology is thousands of years ahead of yours. Our military has never known defeat." Lisa watched the images with interest. "Very impressive. We have conquered 47 species. Each one fell within months of first contact. Some surrendered immediately when they saw our power. Smart of them." Vextar was surprised by her calm response. "You do not seem worried. Should I be? Look at this." The display changed to show battle records from the war with humanity. Zephyrian fleets engaged human ships in dozens of star systems. The numbers were overwhelming. Thousands of alien ships against hundreds of human vessels. "Your fleet at the Battle of Rigel," Vextar said. 37 human ships against 120 of ours. Logic says you should have retreated. But we didn't, no. You attacked. You destroyed 42 of our ships and forced us to retreat. How? Lisa studied the tactical display. She could see the battle playing out in fast motion. Human ships moving in strange patterns, alien vessels trying to respond to attacks that made no sense. "May I?" she asked, nodding toward the control panel. Vexitar hesitated, then activated the human-compatible interface. Lisa's bound hands made it difficult, but she managed to manipulate the display. "Here," she said, pointing to a moment in the battle. "Your lead ships moved into this formation. Standard attack pattern Delta 7. Most efficient use of firepower. Very logical. Your computers probably calculated it as the optimal choice." "Of course," Lisa smiled. But look what happened next. The display showed human ships suddenly changing direction. Instead of meeting the Zephyrian attack head-on, they scattered in all directions. Some headed for the asteroid field. Others dove toward the nearby planet. A few actually flew directly at the enemy fleet. "Chaos," Vextar said. "No pattern. No logic." "No," Lisa agreed. "But watch." The scattered human ships began attacking from unexpected angles. The ones in the asteroid field used the rocks as cover and weapons. The ships near the planet used gravity to increase their speed. The ones flying at the enemy fleet rammed 2 destroyers and exploded. "Suicide attacks," Vextar said with disgust. "Wasteful." "Those 2 ships took out your command vessel," Lisa pointed out. "Your fleet lost coordination for 15 minutes. That's when we destroyed most of your other ships." Vextar studied the battle again. The human tactics still made no sense to him. "Your strategy was inefficient. You lost ships unnecessarily. We lost 12 ships. You lost 42. But you could have saved those 12 if you had used proper tactics." Lisa looked at him with those steady eyes. "Could we? Your computer said we had a 3% chance of victory using standard tactics. We needed to do something your computers couldn't predict. So you chose chaos. We chose to be human." Vexitar did not understand the difference. He brought up another battle, the defense of New Shanghai. "Here, your colony was surrounded by our ground forces. Our numbers were 10 to 1. Victory was certain. The display showed human defenders in hopeless positions. Zephyrian soldiers advanced from all sides with overwhelming firepower. The humans should have surrendered within hours. But you fought for 6 weeks, Vextar said. Your casualties were massive. Your position was hopeless. Why continue? Because giving up wasn't an option. Logic demanded surrender. Continued resistance was pointless. Lisa manipulated the display to show the final days of the battle. "Look closer, General. What happened to your forces during those 6 weeks?" Vextar examined the records. His troops had become increasingly frustrated. Supply lines were constantly attacked. Morale dropped as the siege dragged on. What should have been a quick victory turned into a grinding war of attrition. "Your people fought like wild animals," he said. "We fought like humans protecting our home." The difference being, Lisa was quiet for a moment. When she spoke, her voice was softer. General, do you have a family? Zephyrians do not form emotional attachments. They are inefficient, I see. What about friends? People you care about? Care is irrelevant. Duty is what matters, Lisa nodded slowly. That explains a lot. Explains what? Why you don't understand. Vexitar brought up more battle records. Every human engagement showed the same patterns. Illogical tactics, emotional decisions, and somehow, victory against superior odds. Your species makes no sense, he said finally. We make perfect sense. You just don't know how to see it. Then explain it to me. Lisa looked around the bridge at the Zephyrian crew. They worked with mechanical precision, following orders without question. Their faces showed no emotion, no personality, no individual thought. Jake Collins had a picture of his family on his console, she said. A photo of his parents and his little sister. He looked at it before every battle. Distraction from duty. Amy Foster kept a small wrench that belonged to her father. She said it reminded her why she became an engineer. Sentiment is weakness. Steve Adams wrote letters to his wife every night. He never sent them. Long-range communication was too dangerous. But he wrote them anyway. Vextar was losing patience. What does any of this matter? Lisa smiled that mysterious smile again. Because it's what your computers can't calculate, General. Love, hope, the need to protect something precious, the willingness to sacrifice everything for someone else. Primitive emotions, human emotions, and they make us dangerous in ways your empire has never encountered. How? Because when you're fighting for something you love, you don't fight to win. You fight to survive, and humans are very good at surviving. Vextar stared at her. Something in her words bothered him, but he could not identify what it was. His rational mind rejected her explanation as primitive thinking, but the battle record suggested otherwise. You are saying your weapon is emotion? I'm saying our weapon is being human, all of it. The love, the fear, the hope, the stubbornness, the refusal to give up when logic says we should. That is not a weapon. Lisa's smile grew wider. Isn't it? You've been fighting us for 2 years. 47 other species fell in months. What makes us different? Vextar did not answer. He could not answer. You'll see, General, Lisa said softly. You'll see. Days passed aboard the Eternal Dominion. General Vexitar found himself returning to the detention area more often than he cared to admit. Captain Murphy remained calm and patient, as if she were a guest rather than a prisoner. Tell me about your crew, Vextar said during one of his visits. He was not sure why he asked. The question seemed to come from nowhere. Lisa looked up from the small meal the guards had brought her. Which one would you like to hear about? The pilot, Jake Collins. Lisa set down her food and leaned back against the wall. Jake was 24 years old. He had been flying for 6 years, but he was still amazed every time we jumped to hyperspace. He would always watch through the viewport and smile like a child seeing magic. Childish behavior? Maybe. But Jake could thread a needle with a cargo ship. He once landed us on a moon with half our engines destroyed, and our navigation computers offline. Pure instinct and feel. Vextar accessed his tactical records. At the Battle of Wolf Station, your ship performed 17 maneuvers that our computers classified as impossible. That was Jake. He said machines think in straight lines. But space is curved. What does that mean? Lisa smiled. I never understood it either. But Jake did. He could see paths through space that no computer would calculate. Routes that only existed if you thought about them differently. Different how? Jake grew up on a farm. He understood that sometimes the long way around is actually the short way home. Sometimes you have to go backward to go forward. Sometimes the impossible path is the only one that works. Vextar did not understand, but something about her words made him think of his own navigation systems. Zephyrian computers always chose the most efficient route, the fastest, straightest path between 2 points. But humans seemed to take routes that made no mathematical sense. Tell me about the engineer, he said. Amy Foster. Lisa's expression grew sad. Amy could fix anything. She had this way of looking at broken machines like they were puzzles waiting to be solved. She said technology was just metal and circuits, but engineering was about understanding what the machine wanted to do. Machines do not want anything. They follow programming. That's what I thought too. But Amy would talk to our engines like they were pets. She would pat the reactor housing and tell it to behave. and somehow it always did. Vexitar had noticed something strange in the Liberty's Edge engine records. The human ship had been operating at 110% of rated capacity for months. Zephyrian systems would have failed within days at that level. "How did your engines survive such overuse?" he asked. Amy modified them. She said every machine has a personality, and you have to work with it instead of against it. She would adjust systems based on how they felt rather than what the manual said. That is not logical. No, but it worked.
Amy kept us running when by all rights we should have been dead in space.
She made broken things whole again. Vexitar thought about his own engineering crews. They followed strict procedures and maintenance schedules. Every action was calculated and planned. It was efficient, but it was also rigid. "What about your tactical officer?" Lisa was quiet for a long moment. "Steve Adams was the smartest person I ever met. He could look at a battle and see things that weren't there yet, patterns that would emerge, weaknesses that would develop. He said war was like chess, but with 1,000 moving pieces and rules that changed every turn. Our tactical computers analyze millions of variables per second." "I know. Steve said that was your weakness. How is superior processing power a weakness?" Lisa leaned forward. "Because your computers can only see what is. Steve could see what might be. What could be? What should be? Speculation is not strategy, isn't it? At the Battle of Kepler Station, Steve predicted that your fleet commander would split his forces to protect 3 objectives. He said the commander would choose logical efficiency over tactical flexibility." Vexitar remembered that battle. It had been a disaster for the Zephyrian fleet. "How could your officer predict our commander's actions?" "Because Steve understood something your computers don't. He understood that being logical doesn't always mean being right. Logic is the foundation of all strategy. Human logic, maybe. But you're not human, General. You think differently than we do." Vexitar considered this. "How?" "Your computers process information and calculate optimal outcomes. That's very effective most of the time. But humans don't always choose optimal outcomes. Why not?" Lisa smiled. "Because sometimes the optimal choice isn't the right choice. Sometimes you have to choose what feels right instead of what calculates right. Emotion over logic. Heart over head. Soul over software." Vexitar left the cell feeling more confused than when he had entered. He found Engineer Clicksmole in the ship's analysis center, surrounded by data displays showing human battle tactics. "Report," Vexitar said. "I have been studying human combat patterns for 72 hours, Clicksmole said. "The results are troubling." "Explain." "Our computers can predict human behavior with 67% accuracy. This should be sufficient for tactical superiority, but it is not working in actual combat." "Why not?" Clicksmole highlighted sections of battle data. "Humans appear to make decisions that contradict their own patterns. Just when our systems adapt to their tactics, they change, not gradually but suddenly and completely. Random behavior. That is what I thought initially. But randomness would be easier to counter. This is something else." "What?" "I believe humans are capable of changing their fundamental approach during battle. They can become different fighters in the middle of fighting." Vexitar studied the data. In battle after battle, human forces had suddenly shifted tactics at crucial moments. Ships that had been fighting defensively would suddenly attack. Commanders who had been cautious would become reckless. Groups that had been coordinated would scatter and reform in new patterns. "How is this possible?" Vexitar asked. "I do not know. Our psychology experts say it should not be possible. Military behavior is supposed to be consistent. What do the humans say?" "Captain Murphy claims it is normal human behavior. She says humans are always changing, always adapting." Vexitar returned to the detention cell. Lisa was sitting cross-legged on the floor, apparently meditating. She opened her eyes when he entered. "General, you look troubled." "My engineer says humans change tactics randomly during battle." "Not randomly. Adaptively. What is the difference?" Lisa stood and moved to the energy barrier. "Random means without purpose. Adaptive means changing to meet new challenges. But you change even when there are no new challenges. Because we know challenges are coming. We prepare for problems that haven't happened yet." "How?" "By staying flexible. By being ready to become something different when we need to." Vexitar stared at her. "You are saying humans can change their nature at will?" "Not our nature. Our tactics. Our approach. Our thinking." Lisa paused. "Actually, maybe our nature too. Humans are very good at becoming what we need to be." "That is impossible, is it?" How many different people have you been in your life, General? Vextar did not understand the question. I am General Vexitar of the Zephyrian Military Command. I have always been this. Always. You were never a child? Never a student? Never young and unsure? I was trained for military service from birth. My role has not changed. Lisa nodded sadly. I see. You've been the same person your whole life. Consistency is strength. Maybe. But humans are different. Jake was a farmer's son who became a pilot. Amy was a mechanic's daughter who became an engineer. Steve was a teacher who became a warrior. I was a Marine who became a ship captain. Career changes, life changes. We became different people to meet different needs. And in battle, we can become different fighters. Vextar was beginning to understand something that disturbed him deeply. You are saying humans are unpredictable because you are always becoming new versions of yourselves? We're saying that being human means never being finished, never being complete, always growing, always changing, always becoming something more. Lisa's smile returned, mysterious and knowing. That's what your computers can't calculate, General. They can analyze what we are, but they can't predict what we might become. What you might become. You'll see. V. Captain Lisa Murphy had been a prisoner for 8 days. During that time, she had done more than just answer questions. She had been watching, learning, studying her captors with the same careful attention they had given to her ship. The guards changed shifts every 6 hours. They followed exact patterns, walking the same routes at the same times. The morning shift was more alert. The evening shift was tired and made small mistakes. The night shift was smallest. Only 2 guards for the entire detention level. The ship's routine was predictable. Meal times, maintenance periods, crew rotations. Everything followed a precise schedule that never varied. Even General Vextar visited at regular intervals, always asking the same types of questions. Lisa had also been testing her restraints. The alien device that bound her hands was sophisticated, but it had been designed for Zephyrian physiology. Human joints bent in different ways. Human bones were shaped differently. Over 8 days, Lisa had learned exactly how much flexibility she had. On the 9th day, everything changed. It started during the morning shift. Guard Commander Thecnal was reviewing security reports when alarms began sounding throughout the ship. Lisa could hear running footsteps in the corridors and urgent voices speaking in the Zephyrian language. What's happening? She asked when Thecnal approached her cell. Human fleet movements, the guard replied. Your species is attacking 3 systems simultaneously. Lisa felt a surge of hope. The Earth Defense Force was still fighting, still adapting, still being human. Hours passed. The activity on the ship increased as more reports came in. Lisa caught fragments of conversation from passing crew members. The human attacks were not following normal patterns. They were hitting targets that made no strategic sense. They were using tactics that the Zephyrian computers could not counter. General Vexitar arrived in the detention area looking haggard. His usually perfect uniform was wrinkled, and his silver face markings seemed darker than before. Your fleet is behaving irrationally, he said without greeting. Are we winning? Lisa asked. You are destroying yourselves. 3 suicide attacks on minor installations. Dozens of ships lost for no strategic gain. Lisa smiled. Are you sure about that? Our analysis is clear. Your attacks serve no purpose. Maybe you're analyzing the wrong things. Vextar entered the cell and stood close to Lisa. Tell me what your people are doing. These attacks make no sense, don't they? No! Your ships are ignoring our major fleets and attacking supply stations. You are wasting resources on meaningless targets. Lisa looked at him with those calm brown eyes. General, what do you think war is about? Victory, conquest, defeating the enemy. No, Lisa said softly. War is about surviving long enough to protect what you love. Before Vexitar could respond, another alarm sounded. This one was different, higher-pitched and more urgent. Emergency lighting activated throughout the ship. General Vextar to the bridge immediately, a voice announced over the ship's communication system. Vextar left quickly. Lisa was alone with the guards again, but she could hear increased activity outside her cell. More running footsteps. More urgent voices. Something important was happening. 2 hours later, Engineer Clicksmole appeared at her cell. The thin Zephyrian looked exhausted and confused. Captain Murphy, he said. I need to ask you something. What? The attacks on our supply stations. They were not random, were they? Lisa studied his face. What do you think? I think your people were gathering information, testing our response times, learning our patrol routes. Interesting theory. It is not a theory. 3 of our major fleet bases are now cut off from supplies. Our response fleets are scattered across 12 systems chasing your raiders. And now? Clicksmall looked around nervously. Now we are detecting a massive human fleet approaching this system. 200 ships. Lisa felt her heart racing, but she kept her expression calm. 200 ships. That's impressive. It is impossible. Our intelligence said humanity had fewer than 500 ships remaining in your entire fleet. Intelligence can be wrong. Where did these ships come from? Lisa looked at the engineer for a long moment. Clicksmall, have you ever heard of a ship called the Defiant? No. What about the Phoenix Rising? Or the Second Chance? No. Those were ships we lost in battles with your forces. At least that's what your records show. Clicksmall's large black eyes widened. You are saying... I'm saying humans are very good at making broken things work again. Amy Foster wasn't the only engineer who could fix the impossible. The emergency alarm sounded again. This time it was the battle station's alert. Lisa had heard it enough times aboard human ships to recognize it. How long until the fleet arrives? She asked. 4 hours, Clicksmall said quietly. Then you'd better get ready. The engineer left quickly. Lisa was alone again, but not for long. Within minutes, General Vextar returned. His composure was cracking. She could see fear in his eyes. Your fleet cannot defeat us, he said. We still outnumber you 3-1 in this system. Do you? Yes, we have 600 ships here. Lisa nodded thoughtfully. 600 ships. But how many crews? Vextar paused. What do you mean? Your ships are highly automated. Very efficient. How many actual people do you need to run a ship like this one? 2,000 crew for a ship this size. And how many could run it in an emergency? Minimum crew? Perhaps. 500. But that would be unsafe, Lisa smiled. Humans run ships with 40 people, General. We have for 2 years. We've learned to do more with less because we've had to. What is your point? My point is that you've been calculating ships against ships. But the real war is people against people, and humans are very good at being people. The ship shuddered slightly. Not from weapons fire, Lisa knew that feeling. This was something else. The engines were changing pitch. What was that? Vextar demanded. Lisa listened carefully. I think your fleet is moving to intercept the human ships. Of course. Standard defensive formation. Predictable. Effective. Lisa shook her head. General, you still don't understand. You're fighting the war you want to fight. But we're fighting the war we need to fight. Another shudder ran through the ship. This time it was followed by the sound of weapons charging. The battle was about to begin. Vextar activated his communication device. Bridge report. General, the human fleet is not approaching in standard formation. They appear to be scattered across the system in small groups. Disorganized. We can defeat them in detail. Lisa laughed softly. You still think we're disorganized? Are you not? No, General. We're adaptive. We're creative. We're doing something you've never seen before because we're something you've never fought before. The ship shuddered again. Harder this time. Lisa could hear the deep rumble of the main engines at full power. General, the voice from the bridge called. The human ships are not engaging our fleet directly. They appear to be targeting our supply vessels and support craft. Cowards, Vextar said. No, Lisa replied. Smart. We can't match your firepower, so we're not going to try. Then how do you expect to win? Lisa looked at him with eyes that held no fear, only certainty. By being human, General. By doing what humans do best, which is surviving, adapting, refusing to quit, fighting for something worth dying for. The lights flickered as the ship's power systems redirected energy to weapons. Lisa could feel the change in the ship's movement as it maneuvered for battle. Your fleet will be destroyed, Vextar said. Maybe. But it won't matter. How can you say that? Lisa smiled that mysterious smile one last time. Because win or lose, General, you're about to learn something very important about humanity. You're about to learn that we don't fight to win. We fight to teach. Teach what? That some things are worth fighting for no matter the cost. That freedom is more important than efficiency. That hope is stronger than fear. The ship shook violently as weapons fire began. The battle had started. And most importantly, Lisa continued, you're about to learn that every time you think you've figured us out, we become something new, something you didn't expect. Something that makes you question everything you thought you knew. Vextar stared at her as understanding finally began to dawn. Your ultimate weapon is that we're human, Lisa finished. All of it. The good and the bad. The logical and the emotional. The predictable and the impossible. We're everything your computers can't calculate because we're always becoming something more than what we were. Lisa stood and faced him directly. You wanted to know our secret, General? Our secret is that we don't have just one secret. We have millions of them. Every human who fights you teaches the rest of us something new. Every battle lost is information gained. Every ship destroyed is a lesson learned. The ship rocked again as explosions echoed through the hull. And now, Lisa said with quiet confidence, it's time for your next lesson. The lights went out.